Happy
Yay.
Friday, um,
Happy Friday. Exciting
everybody
day.
out
It's beautiful
there.
outside. It's kind of overcast, but it's nice.
It's nice. Second day of summer,
Mhm.
and it's raining and cold, but
Farmer's market
welcome.
right down the street from where I am today.
Oh, bonus.
Beautiful.
Bonus. Good morning, everybody watching now or in the future. Welcome to the Great Start Community Connections for June. I'm Jean Faivor. I'm the family liaison with the Great Start Collaborative and Family Coalition of Charlevoix, Emmett, and Northern Antrim counties. And I'm really glad to be here with my really great friend, Kristin Jardene from North Central Michigan College. She's going to talk about the CCAMPIS program that they've got going on, trying to help student parents get in the classroom, focusing on childcare and support in that area. So, welcome, Kristin. Excited to hear about
Thank
this
you.
and how we can support our families. Maybe give us a brief introduction of maybe to yourself and what brought you here and what we're going to talk about.
Sure. Well, I'm Kristen. Thanks. I'm so glad to be here. And I have come to this new position at the college, which is CCAMPIS Coordinator and CCAMPIS Advisor and Activity Coordinator. It's a long name. And that really means that I am in charge of kind of supporting student parents in a facet of ways, which we'll get into in a minute. But I came to this work, to social work position, and I came to this work after 13 years of birth work, doing doula and birth assistance, and I spent many years working with families in a really intimate transition of their life. And this is just kind of a next step of working with people in transitions of their life in vulnerable and intimate ways. And I'm really grateful to be in this position. It's brand new that we're offering at the college, and it gives a lot of wraparound services to student parents, which is exciting. So the actual title, C Campus, means Child Care Access Means Parents in School, and it's a federal grant, which is from the Department of Education. And the grant specifically allows us to give funding to student parents who go to attend NCMC to help them pay for childcare so that they can stay in school and or come back to school and finish a degree and try to help them make some mobility in their world and accomplish their educational goals while still being successful parents. So
Excellent.
that's it. That's the over-encompassing work of C Campus.
Awesome. That sounds great. So it's a challenge. Sometimes we know, and we all know that the child care environment here is a challenge already, and
Yes.
raising families in northern Michigan with our challenges and unique opportunities. So bringing that to our local community college to actually kind of facilitate childcare support. So, what does that look like? What do I do? So, you can give us maybe, and we'll shoot this in the comments, the information, like the phone number. Is there a phone
Sure.
number I call for us to get into that? And then what happens when I reach out and contact and connect with you? Do I talk to you? Do I talk to the early childhood team? What's the process look like?
What does it look like? So my one of the I'll kind of tell you a little bit more about what we offer other than just childcare, which is kind of an important piece. So I part of my role is to provide childcare funding so that we can give people access to money to be able to have childcare. Part of my role is to try to help people find childcare, which is of course the most challenging piece, and the climate that we are in and the childcare crisis. We are working really hard at the college to try to make some changes there. But the C Campus role kind of involves a lot of other community members as well in terms of finding and connecting families with available or waitlisted spots for childcare within the communities in our the counties that serve the NCMC. And another part of my role is academic advising. So I do the academic advising for student parents and give them wraparound supports to connect them with other community agencies and supports that might be able to give them resources that would be beneficial and help them be successful in school. So all of those things kind of are housed in one unit, which is me. And so you can find me easily on the NCMC website as an academic advisor. You can contact student services if you would like to just connect with coming back to school and want to talk with me about the options and what that would look like and have an academic advising appointment. That all of my contact is there. It's not really doesn't really go through the early education realm of the school, even though I work intimately with Jen Wixon, who is my supervisor, and she runs the early childhood development and teaches all the classes at the college for early childhood education. But it's not, you wouldn't contact me necessarily through there. You always can get to me through any avenue, but you can find me very easily through NCMC. So parents really just, if they're interested in coming back to school or if they're currently a student at the college, there's a couple of things that kind of put you into the criteria when we're looking at funding. And they're really easy. We really want to break down the barriers and make this accessible to as many people as possible. So we have a lot of flexibility to do that at this point. And so there are the few criteria that kind of come with the funding piece, but that you need to be a Pell eligible student. This is our only way that we kind of look at financial resources that families have. And so we know that information via your FAFSA. If you've filled out your FAFSA application for as a college student, or if you're thinking of coming back to college, you would fill out your FAFSA application. That allows you to receive federal grant funding and federal loans for school. And if you are eligible to receive a Pell Grant, which the majority of our student population falls into that bracket, to be honest, but if you are eligible to receive a Pell Grant, even if you don't actually take the Pell Grant, you meet the criteria financially for us to be able to help fund childcare. You also need to be a degree-seeking student, and what that means, it's kind of a strange term, but it just means that you're headed towards a certificate or a degree. So you're in a program, not just taking a random art class, and you also aren't able to receive the funding if you're in the fast track program. We are working on other funding sources to be able to support and help families that are in the fast track programs, but CCAMPIS specifically won't fund fast track. And fast track programs are like the 2-week CNA trainings or the short welding programs, things that are not going to accomplish a certificate of development or a certificate that are through credit-driven programs. So it has to be degree-seeking, which most people are in that program as well. So degree-seeking, Pell eligibility, you need to have children of care age, which we don't really specify because sometimes you have a 12-year-old that still needs supervision after care. So it's typically that 0 to 12-year-old range is the most common that we see the need for care, but there isn't a specific cutoff range for that. And most importantly, it needs to, we can only fund a licensed care provider. Like I said, we can try to really help find licensed providers for people, but if you have a licensed provider, it makes it much easier. So we're able to pay directly to the provider themselves and help to cover the cost of the child care. You do not have to be a full-time student. You can be a part-time student. You can be taking a class at a time, trying to get through as you're getting, our hope would be that taking away the barrier of funding your childcare would allow you to be able to make some more room in your life, maybe to be able to get through school a lot faster. I am a long time student parent myself. I was in and out of school for nearly 20 years before I got to my bachelor's degree, and trying to do that while you're parenting, it's really, really clear that the first thing that goes is your education when you're working and parenting and trying to manage all the pieces. Something has to give sometimes, and that often means school has to go on the back burner. And I think a lot about if I had had some of the supports that we're able to offer now, if it would have sped up that process for me. I'm a graduate student finishing up my master's in social work right now, so I am still a student parent, and just that feeling and that understanding of the barriers and the difficulties that it can bring to the table when you're in school, working, and parenting, I'm very, very in tune with. So I want to make sure people know that, because it's a different kind of thing to come back to school when you're a parent. And you're not 18 years old anymore.
Right.
So,
Well, I think what we used to call that like non-traditional. I don't know what the words are anymore, but I
yes,
was like,
yeah,
okay,
still, they
yeah,
still
yeah,
do.
yeah, okay, because yeah, I think that it's intimidating right from the get-go, not even to consider that whole piece of what do I do with my kiddo when I'm, how do I find childcare? So it sounds like that was a lot of great information, Kristin. Thank you. So if I want to use the C Campus program for childcare support, um,
Yes.
so if I have my own licensed provider, that I'm already paying, I could still receive support, financial support through that if I meet those criteria, to kind of maybe help relieve the burden and potentially allow me to maybe work one fewer shift or whatever it might be so that I can take some classes. So that's kind of a neat way to think about it. Not just finding childcare, but supporting what's already existing. But then also that option to have, let's see what we can find you if you don't have that yet, because you're now considering, going to school. So
Yeah, yes. It's really simple. We have an agreement that we set up with the child care provider if you already have an established licensed provider that just allows us to give them payment right away, and I work with the provider to do that. And so it's a really seamless, there's not a wait process, it's a very quick turnover, so we can help
awesome.
immediately. We really want to, sometimes, when you're applying for other assistance, there's a wait for that. That is a piece I kind of forgot to mention. We have you fill out the application for Department of Human Services child care support. That is one of the criteria to have the CCAMPIS funding. You do not need to receive it, meaning if you are denied that support, you maybe don't quite meet the criteria for DHHS assistance, that doesn't mean you won't receive our support. It just means that we have you go through that process because a lot of people we're finding actually qualify for that support. And it's a really great program. I know you've already talked with her about that in one of your other sessions. But once you're into that program, you are qualified for a year right off the bat, and the income brackets are much higher than they used to be. And so what we found during some of our surveys, that student parents were not utilizing that for a multitude of reasons, partly because they just didn't think they met the qualifications. Right. So I've been going through the application process with students in my office.
I was going to ask.
That's just overwhelming. Like, it's an overwhelming process. It's very simple, but also nothing about the process is simple. So we happily do that with you in my office or over the phone to make sure that that's seamless and easy. And what we found is the majority of students that have applied have been accepted and received that support from DHHS. And so we're working in combination with them. Sometimes if they don't cover the whole amount, then we will cover the rest of it. Sometimes it means that we're covering everything until DHHS kicks in, because sometimes there can be a little bit of a wait time. And then once they kick in, we don't need to be funding anymore. And so we've gotten that secured for you in that sense. And sometimes people are denied and then we do the funding instead. So we're really we work really closely with them in making sure that all avenues of support are being accessed for families.
Okay, so you said that's something that you do as well, even though you're not DHHS, working through those applications and kind of, like you said, the wraparound, which is support from all avenues and all angles. So if I qualify for the DHS childcare support, would I still be working with you as a student parent, or would you still remain, my academic advisor, or is that the right? Yeah. So do I? How does that work?
Ideally.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love to keep working, and I do. I have quite a few families that are utilizing the DHS assistance now, but we still regularly are in contact, and I'm supporting them in other ways, connecting with other services. We have certain emergency fund services and the Women's Resource Center at the college that we also work very closely with. So we make sure that we're connecting people with all of the different areas of support, and I continue to be their academic advisor. A lot of our population, our student body, if they are student parents, they might have kids that are not actually in need of childcare. I'm still their academic advisor. Okay. People have the option to see other advisors. Right. They don't only have to see me. But yes, I would be the student parent advisor even if you're not getting funding.
Awesome. So that's your specialty, and seems like that's what I want to talk to as a student parent. So great for the people that have childcare already kind of lined up, and they're like, how do I pay for it and squeeze it in and squeeze the school in? Come to you, figure out how to help get that paid for and kind of relieve some of that burden. So what about I've been a stay-home parent and I want to go back to school and I'm looking for childcare for my child.
Yes.
What does that look like?
Well, that's much more challenging. Very honestly, it's much more challenging. However, we are working really hard. We've been able to place 3 kiddos into childcare spaces by making those connections and support with the the established licensed providers in our area. I have a relationship with most of them or many of them. And so we've been able to place 3 kids in the last 2.5 months into care, which is frankly was surprising that we were able to do that because wait lists are very long. So we were grateful to be able to have the resources to be able to help find placement for students, children. It doesn't necessarily mean it's ideal. Sometimes it means it's still a drive, as we all know. Maybe not an ideal location. We're trying really hard to change that. So it means a lot of unknowns and it means a lot of work. So we're trying to connect people. I'm constantly connecting with providers to see what their wait list is like, what their openings are like. If people have been on a wait list, helping them to kind of navigate where they are in that place if possible, and see if we can see what we need to do in terms of not manipulating the system by any means, but just helping them make sure they're in contact with the place that they have a wait list in, and see if maybe they're coming up soon, and we can have that conversation of what that looks like. We're also opening a childcare center on campus, and that will be open this fall. It is not specifically for student parents. It will be the first childcare center on campus, and it will only be able to provide care for 12 children, 0 to 3 years old. So there are a couple of spots there that will be able to be a resource for maybe a direct link that some of our student parents use that care, but it is a community resource. And we're not even in the place yet that we're like have a wait list or the process of applying or anything like that. So we're hoping to make some big changes there, but that's a work in progress. We found that a lot of students, especially maybe that pool that you were just talking about, like student parents that or people want to come back to school who are mostly at home and maybe they'll take online classes, but they still need some care. We're working very hard to create a drop-in care facility and option at the college. It's not actually in place yet, but hopefully it will be as soon as possible, to allow people, maybe they just need to take a class at the college, so they need 2 hours of care twice a week, and they don't need a full-time spot, but they need the option to be able to drop their kids off in a safe place and be able to take their class, or go to a study for an exam, or get testing and tutoring we have on campus for all parents. Those are really high needs we found through our feedback from the students, and we're really working hard to create that option at the school, trying to meet all of those different pieces of need. So it's a more loaded question. We know the child care crisis is a lot here, but
well, and you said within the last 2.5 months. So I just bringing up again that this is brand new. This just started.
Brand new.
This is a brand new program,
yes.
And it's still getting off the ground and seeing how it'll go. I did have a question, just kind of thinking about you're saying that it's a long drive potentially or whatever. And the drop in together. So if I'm accessing this childcare, the support, is it like, so that, does it matter when I'm using it? So like it's not just when I'm in class, like the childcare isn't just I drop my kid off and then I go to school. Is it, could it be childcare that when I'm at work, supporting that? Does it matter when my child needs the care? I don't know if that question is clear, but you know what I'm saying?
No, it's very clear. It's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it, because that's a piece of clarity that's really needed. A lot of colleges that have this grant and utilize different systems like this have different policies around this. They might only fund during class time. They might only fund during certain times. We know, because of the child care crisis, that we really can't expect a provider to be able to give part-time care. So our funding is for a full-time spot. So that doesn't mean that you're in school for that whole time, or even sometimes people are needing that care while they're online students. They don't even have to be attending classes in person. So you could be at work, you could be getting your homework done at school, whatever you're doing with your time. If you are a student, we're helping to pay for the entire spot. So a full-time childcare spot. Some people, if they have a part-time spot in a childcare center or at a home daycare, and that's all they need, and their provider provides a part-time spot, then that's what we'll cover. But yes, we're not looking at specific hours or dictating it for when you're in care, when you're in class, or when you're in that's only when you get care for an entire spot, which is a little bit different than DHHS. Their care supports families for how many hours they work and also specifically for when they're in classes. So they do help provide care or determine their benefits based on school time as well as employment, but they are more specific to how many hours. We are specific to just the spot.
Okay.
And that also means that if you're taking classes, you're taking classes in the spring semester, and then you're going to take classes in the fall semester, but you're not going to take classes in the summer semester, we know that you're likely going to be working a lot during the summer semester. And having that expectation that you would lose your care during summer and then have to find it again in the fall doesn't work in our community. So we also help to pay through the summer semester as well, even if you're not currently taking classes during that time.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And you keep saying help pay for. So is there like each family gets, $100 a week, or how does it work? How do I know, like, is there a limit for how much you get? Does it depend on my Pell Grant needs, or what? How does it work? How much could I get?
That's a great question. Well, currently we are in a place where we're able to fund the entire amount for students. So to take that barrier away completely for them, to pay for their full spot. That in the future, I cannot guarantee that will always be that amount, which is why I'm being ambiguous with language. But right now, we are covering full tuition for a child care spot. In the future, depending on the grant, depending on how many students are in need, that might shift a bit and would go down to in a more percent-based process. It would still be the majority of the care. Our plan and our intention is that we're not just giving you $100, we're paying for the grand majority, if not all of the care, so that you're not having that barrier's gone altogether. That's the intention.
Wonderful. That's, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's sustainable, because really reducing that barrier. Okay.
Yes, and so far with the students we have been supporting, that has been how it's worked. And again, it's one of the models that we're finding is just that a lot of people end up also being able to receive DHS support, so we're paying the full amount for a certain period of time, and then that might shift as time goes on. So it's evolving.
Beautiful. Okay, if anybody in here has questions, you can always put them. Oh, Caitlin says hi, beautiful friends. Hi, Caitlin. Questions or stories or anything like that, you can always pop them in the chat. We'll probably be signing off here soon. So what else did we not cover? I know we're always looking for, to promote more licensed providers. So if anybody out there wants to become a licensed provider, here's another, you will be full. So we have the support to...
That is something that we talk about a lot when families call and they have an unlicensed provider and they're hoping to get funding for care, and I explain that we can't cover that through the grant. One of my questions is always, would your provider be interested in becoming licensed? If you are out there and you're just thinking like, maybe I would consider getting licensed, or I've thought about it but I don't know what that would look like. We're also really looking into, very new in the process of thinking a lot about how to incorporate the community as a resource for drop-in care. And so sometimes there is potential, and there's lots of conversation being had around what that might look like to be a licensed provider that becomes access for us to use drop-in care. So it's not necessarily a full-time job commitment, which a lot of, when you open a licensed care for, typically you're like, well, I now have 6 kids every day, all day long, and some people don't want that. So there is a lot of room for conversation around this. I'm always happy to have that conversation of what that might look like, or how we might be able to help in that way. So yes, always looking for more licensed options for people. And we will fill you right up.
Yep.
With guaranteed funding.
Yep, true. Okay, so if you're listening, you hear this, check in with the college, who's doing an incredible amount of work with childcare in our communities. So,
and beautiful. This is really the CCAMPIS grant, just to kind of give this understanding. The child care initiative at the college is, a lot of people know about that. It's been in the works for the last couple of years. That's where the Child Care Development Center that's coming to campus is coming from. And CCAMPIS is involved in that because some of the funding from the CCAMPIS grant is being used to help establish the Child Care Center. It is still separate from the Child Care Initiative, but as most things in childcare are, they're all very connected in certain ways. So the child care support that's happening on campus and the Child Care Initiative is getting some of the funding from CCAMPIS grant, but the CCAMPIS role that I take is specific to our student parents or to new student parents. And we do have a student that is coming back to school. She saw us at one of the health fairs this year that we were at, had a booth at, and because of our support is able to come back to school and will graduate by the end of the next semester and has a job lined up after that. And that is a really exciting reality that sometimes just taking that barrier away allows you to reach the achievements and goals that you've put in place that really change the outcomes of your life. And if I can do anything to help support that, I'm here to do that. So
Wonderful. Thank you, Kristin. If anybody has questions or comments after the fact, you can email, call. What's a good number to call you? Is there a number to
Jean,
get
I knew
connected
you were gonna do
with?
this. I don't even know. I'm so new to this position. I don't remember my own phone number.
That's pretty typical.
But
or is it just
email,
go into the student services?
Better.
Okay, email.
Yes. Go into student services on the website. That's so funny that I don't know my number. Anyway, my email is KJARDINE, Jardine at ncmich.edu. And that's the best way, honestly, to connect with me. Actually, hold on. Now I'm remembering that I can look right on my... So, this brand new position of ours, my telephone number is 231-348-6628.
231-348-688. What was it?
6628.
6628.
Yes. But email or phone anytime. Email will always get to me. So that's a really easy way to make that contact as well.
Awesome. Well, it's really exciting to hear about this, and it's just a huge barrier removal, and hopefully people hear about it and will help spread the word to get in contact with you and to go.
Yes, if you are not in school, come talk with me. I'll talk you all through the options here. If you are there, then find me in my office and we'll get you some support. Thank you, Jean. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Kristin. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.